Hello and welcome back to another Fear the Walking Dead video, and today we're going to be reviewing Fear the Walking Dead Season 7 Episode 3, Cindy Hawkins. But before we get into this, if you want more Walking Dead content, look in the top right corner. It should say something that says click me for more. I recommend you click it because you'll find something else you like guaranteed. So let's get back into the review. So the first thing I do want to talk about is the actual plot. I didn't expect this to be a sole John Dory based episode. And with the trailer kind of being very misleading and showing a lot of Morgan and Strand, John Dory and June in it, actually, Morgan and Strand are literally cameos in this episode. I feel like the trailer for this episode is very misleading. They're literally cameos. People suspect it, but I feel like they shouldn't have been in the trailer. And June was a supporting role for John Dory, and it really works as John Dory Sr. was a very good standalone. You could carry the episode. Some characters have been given standalone episodes and been proven they can't carry it, but John Dory could. And it's probably because he had such a compelling story this episode. So the story of this episode is that June and John are currently inside Teddy's bunker and they're just surviving and just kind of going day by day. Until an incident happens and they find like Teddy's like secret like kind of murder dungeon. And you find that, but the actual outcome of this is that all the whiskey and all the alcohol has now been smashed. And the whole premise and the plot of the episode is that John Dory is actually suffering from alcoholism. And the episode is him going through the withdrawals of alcoholism and the side effects of it. And when this happened, me, someone who knows nothing about alcoholism, initially thought, okay, this is all bull, and like alcoholism doesn't make you hallucinate and shake. And I did talk to someone about it, and then like, yes, with someone, if you literally any drug that you just go suddenly like cold turkey on and do withdrawals from, you can hallucinate and have shakes, and it's common, and it actually does happen with alcoholism. It probably still is very extreme and very dramatized of the withdrawal effects of alcoholism, but because this happens, it makes good TV because we see a lot about John's backstory and what John is still suffering with, how he could never actually find the final victim of Teddy's murders, and it leads to John maybe doing some stupid choices, but because he suffers from this, it makes the stupid choices make sense, because there are a couple stupid choices in this episode, and because he is actually suffering from this, it makes rational sense why they are doing these stupid choices. And if he probably never had this and he's just going to make these stupid choices, it would ruin the show. So they've kind of come up with a reason why stupid things are happening so the plot could move forwards. This is a really good like character like deep dive for John Dory episode, and I really like how Fear is really good at making these deep dive episodes into characters and like their motivations and their backstory and their demons and stuff. And this is a prime example of just fleshing out a character and find out a lot about John Dory in only 45 minutes, and I really like it. It's very good. Even though June is a side character in this episode, she's still really good because she's the one character who kind of maybe helps us understand a bit to what's happened to John. If they never mention like, oh, he's basically going through withdrawals alcoholism, I generally thought he was getting dementia or something while he was shaking and hallucinating. If that wasn't said to me, I would have thought, oh, John's just going crazy. So it's good to have June there just to be like the kind of, this is what's happening, to help us understand. However, there is one big issue that I did notice in this episode, and it was one massive inconsistency to the writing, and that is that John Dory Sr. gets a scratch by a walker on his back, and all the way back in season 1 of The Walking Dead, episode 1, we get told by Morgan, if you get a scratch, a bite, or anything in you, you turn. So why doesn't John Dory turn from a scratch? We've never seen a person turn from a scratch, so we just have to trust Morgan's word. But it's just, we've been told one thing and then we've just been shown, oh, a scratch means nothing. It's really annoying. So it's either Morgan was lying in season 1 of The Walking Dead, or the writers just forgot scratches turn you in The Walking Dead universe. Now let's move on to the writing and pacing, and both were really good generally. Like the pacing's very good, the episode moves on very good, everything in the episode connects to either the plot of the straight episode or future episodes. Like the ending just kind of is building upon the Strand and Morgan like rivalry, and that worked. But most of the episode works really well. It's just John going through his alcoholism. It's very good at paced. It's very fun. It's very enjoyable to watch. And the writing is great. If there's good writing, it helps the pacing. And the writing's really good. Like, everything other than the scratch issue works. And the writing's been really good since season 6, I feel like. And that is amazing. There is one little nitpick. It's still kind of good writing and it makes sense. It works. But it's just like how convenient it happened in the previous episode as well. Is when at the end of like the episode, the character goes through the arc and is the same arc for John than it was Morgan and Grace last episode. And right at the end, they kind of like go, okay, I go back for this, but you also get the outcome they initially wanted kind of as well. It's like, they had their cake and ate it, and like John's whole thing this episode is to try and find where this dead woman was like 40 years ago, and then he decides, I'm just going to go back for June, but then he still somehow finds this lady, and you're like, okay, well, he's had his cake and then ate it, which I thought was a bit too convenient, and happened a bit in the last episode as well. It's like, they're doing this character development, but then they get their way at the same time. It worked, but I just had a little issue with that. Now, let's move on to the cinematography of this episode, and it looks amazing. Okay, we see more of like the fallout, we see lots of different environments in the fallout. They're not just sitting here using the same set each time, like, okay, this is the wasteland. They use lots of different sets, have we noticed, through the past 3 episodes, and it's quite nice to see lots of different places and lots of different, like, I'm going to say biomes, air quote, in the fallout, which is amazing. We get some quite cool shots of, like, some characters looking in some cool angles. It's just very well... It's very pretty to look at and very nice to look at, because some things, even in The Walking Dead Season 11, I have a lot of issues with the way that season's shot and the colours they use and the way the camera angle is. Fear has none of those issues. So now that's done, let's go to my one sentence / one word overall review, and I would say this episode is very good and very interesting. Like, I can't think of one word. It's not as good as the last episode. It's very compelling. It's a compelling episode. I do recommend watching it. But that's my review. What do you think about this episode? Please tell me down below. And that is it for me now. So look on the screen if you want more videos. There should be some on the screen. So peace out, goodbye, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye.